Okay guys, in today's lesson I'm going to be talking about triad families. Now, a triad is a set of 3 notes, and now if you know your major and minor chords, you probably already know that a major chord has a formula of a root, a third and a fifth, and a minor chord has a root, a flat third and a fifth. And the difference is these thirds here make all the difference to the tonality and the quality of the chord. That major third makes the chord sound bright and happy, that flat third makes the chord sound melancholy and sad. What you might not know is there are another 2 triads that we need to add to these family of triads that we need to be able to understand. Back in music college, we used to do this using a standard notation, but what I'm going to do is, this is a more visual approach to it, and it's very, very simple. I'm going to show you how we make these triads and a good way of understanding them. I'm going to show you some symbols that are going to come in very, very useful for progressing through understanding chords and scales and all that. The first symbol I want you to understand is triangle. That triangle equals major. Now you might have seen this in jazz stuff, so that's something you need to know. The next symbol you're going to need to know is this minus symbol. This is minor, so anything that has that symbol after it means minor. Another one you might not have seen is this plus. This means augmented, right? And I'm just going to state now, guys, the major is with an uppercase M and the minor is with a lowercase m. If you notice that the A there is uppercase and capitalized, when I do this one, this symbol here means diminished. I'm going to spell that with a lowercase d there as well. There's a reason for that. We'll get to that as we progress through this. So the first triad I'm going to hit you with is the major triad and give you the understanding of how this stacks up. Now, triads stack in thirds. This is called tertian movement. So we start with a root note, then we count up 3 notes, so we go root and then we get to the third. So the distance between this root note here and this third here, this is a major third. So I want you to see that. Look, I put that triangle there to show you that that is a major third. Then what we do is we go up another third from the third, and that gets us to the fifth. And at the other side of that, the third that exists between these 2 is a minor third. Now hopefully you can see that this major triad, it has its formula, which is this, a root, third and fifth. You can see that the distance between the root and the third there is a major third, and the distance between a third and a fifth is a minor third. So we can put that in. I'll put that there like that just so you can see what is going on there. The next one we're going to look at is the minor triad. The minor triad is there. So if I start on my root there and go up to the third, now the thing with the minor triad is that that third is flattened. That means the interval between there is a minor third. So a flat third is the same as a minor third. They are synonymous. So going up from the flat third, we get to the fifth. Now, if I look at the interval between there, between the flat third and the fifth, then what happens is we get a major third. Now, that should make sense, because if you think about it, if we go from a major third to a fifth there and we get a minor third, by lowering this one, that widens that interval and makes it a major third. Hopefully that makes sense there, guys. The formula for this is root, flat third and fifth. So this brings us into the next 2 triads, and these have a different tonality. The first one we look at is something called the augmented triad. Right, now notice, like I said, I spelt this with an A, and there's a reason. It's because I want to link this idea that the augmented has more in common with the major than it does with the minor. And the reason being is when I show you how these thirds stack up on this example, then you'll see root, well, we have a third. Same as the major chord, we have a major third distance in there. Now here is what is different. The fifth, however, on an augmented chord is the note that is going to be affected. That's the note that's going to be changed. What happens is that this fifth has to go up one half step, a semitone, or one fret if you want to think of it that way. And the way that I show that is I use this plus symbol here. Sometimes you might see it as a sharp symbol, but if you use this plus, then you're always going to know what that means there. So essentially, if you remember, third to fifth gave us a minor third, but if we look here, third to a sharp 5, what that's going to do is he's going to give us another major third. So we end up with 2 major thirds in that augmented triad. We would spell that root third plus 5. Now, hopefully that makes sense then. You can see really that major and minor chords, they're all about the third, the manipulation of the third. And you're going to see here when I get into this diminished that really augmented and diminished chords are related by this idea that we are manipulating and changing the fifth of the triad. So if I come from the root note of the diminished triad and then I go up, well, it's got a flat third, has this diminished triad. So if I go up there, you can see it's got a flat third. That's the same as the minor chords. This is why I use that uppercase and lowercase, because that diminished has more in common with the minor because of that flat third. That's the way we want to think about it. Then we can see that the diminished, what's happening here is instead of having a perfect fifth like the major and the minor, it has a flattened fifth. It goes the other way. We lower the fifth. In the augmented, we raise the fifth, and in the diminished, we lower the fifth. So if we have a look at this here, what essentially happens is we end up with a minor third. And you can see there that in the augmented and the diminished, the notes that have been changed in this, it's all about the fifth. And by altering those notes, then we get those qualities for those chords. Now here's the thing. How does this apply to guitar and how can we use it? Well, look, let me just show you with the humble A shape. Okay, so I've drawn some chord boxes here and I'm going to put this as a shorthand. It's super useful for you to know what's going on here. This is major, this is minor, this is augmented, and this is diminished. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the concept of the 5R3 chords. Remember, there are 3 5R3 chords. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll put a link to the 5R3 thing in the description of this video. But the 5R3 is the easiest way to visualize how these chords are going to be changed. And we're going to use the humble A shape. This links up to caged as well. It's a beautiful thing. But not only does it help you with your chords, your scales, it helps you with your arpeggios also. So if we look at this as being an A major chord, so we would get 5R3. With this major chord, we would have a perfect fifth, the root, and the third here. We can put the formula for that chord there, that triad. We're only playing this little triad here. So we take this triad and we use this as the master to find out how to manipulate the third to make this major chord into a minor. So if we take 5, R, now the third was here, and to flatten it, we lower it 1 fret. So this means that the flat third comes in there. And you can see, actually, guys, look at that. You can see your major chord, you can see your minor chord. This is an A major, this is an A minor. If you haven't made that distinction, that's super, super important because this is how you change from major to minor chords in bar chords. There's a lot of good stuff in this. Now the next thing we need to do is with the augmented, if you remember, we had a root third and we had an augmented fifth. Now ordinarily the fifth would be here if we reference the major triad that we had here, but what we have to do is we have to augment that. Augment means making things bigger. If we go plus 5, the root is still in the same position and the third is still in the same position. Now what I recommend is you play these and listen to them. Don't hit any of the other strings, just play these strings here. And so you can see I'm only applying this on the D, the G and the B strings. I wrote that wrong there. D, G, B, D, G, B, and then I'm going to apply that here, D, G, B. Right, on to this last one. This is the diminished triad. If we look at that, that's got a root, a flat third, and a flat 5. So that 5 that we had here, remember the 5R3, we're always referencing this master A shape here. This is the North Star. These 5R3s are your North Star. So if we take that 5th that would be there, then the flat 5 means it goes 1 fret lower. That's lower, this is higher. Remember guys, because think about the pitch, that would make sense. And also the fret number, look at that, the fret numbers, I'll put those in the fret numbers as well, so you can see this is 1 number lower. The root hasn't shifted because the root doesn't get altered in any of these. We also then need to flatten the 3rd there, so the 3rd would be there ordinarily, but if we plot a flat 3rd there, then what you can see is we end up with 4 distinct little shapes that give you a sonic flavor. They have an emotional value. You've got to play these guys. You really have to play them. What I would like you to do is if you can play these and drop in the comments what you think the quality of each chord is. That's your homework. I want you to do that and drop that in the video. So major triad, what does that evoke emotionally? The minor triad, what does that evoke emotionally? Augmented, and I'll just write those above there. Major, minor, augmented. I could short that to just say aug, and then diminished, I'll shorten that. I want to see your homework in the comments below. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, hit that subscribe button, hit that like, drop a comment, and I'll see you in the next video.